when you went out to dinner in...
No, Howard Dudgeon
Okay.
was at Tom Oliver, and C.B. all went to Baylor, and then they went to Baylor Medical School, and they
Okay.
were good friends. And then they were house doctors at Providence Hospital in Waco. Howard Dudgeon's father was one of the outstanding doctors at Providence Hospital, and everybody called him Daddy Dudgeon. And so he lived in a nice home, of course, and so Howard Dudgeon, the son, invited C.B. and me to come out to dinner. Or the parents did, I don't know, but we were invited out to dinner. So I went out there, and of course I'd never been in a big home where they had maids walking around serving. And the only thing that, of course, I felt uncomfortable and kind of scared, and that Daddy Dudgeon asked me if I was a football fan. And I'd never seen a football in my life. And I can remember C.B. always answered for me. C.B. said, "She really is," and said, "She doesn't care very much about football." I'll never forget that as long as I live.
Yeah.
But that was just one of the things that I knew Daddy Dudgeon real well. I saw him every day at the hospital.
Yeah.
But you never thought you'd ever be invited to. A nurse wouldn't think they'd ever be invited to the doctor's home.
So that was a big day.
That was but I can remember it because I was, of course, uneasy. I wondered, I don't know. I just remembered him asking me if I was.
Yeah. And Daddy answered for you.
Yeah.
Knowing you probably didn't
I'd
know
never
what he
even
was
seen
talking
football.
about. There's one thing that I remember as we're talking about this. Remember you told me that funny story about when you drove Daddy's car and you're supposed to go around the block to pick him up? What was that?
Well, after first time or second time, I guess, that I went to Beaumont with C.B. to see his people. In those days, all the men wore hats, and they'd have to have their hats blocked. I guess that's like cleaned and blocked. So it was late in the afternoon, and C.B. drove there, and he said, "Just drive around the block. I'm just going to run in and pick up my hat." Well, that block was a funny I got down there, and the traffic cop made me turn to the left. It was blocked.
Yeah.
And, of course, I had no idea. I did not even know where I wanted to go. I remembered that big Baptist church. And so I just drove and drove until I ended up, I remember, at Hotel du Hospital. That's where Carol was born, which was way far away from there, down by the river. Poor C.B. standing up with his hat. I finally kind of stopped and asked anybody. I remembered that this hat place was right next to a department store that started with a Rosen. It was Rosenthal. I didn't remember the whole Rosen. I asked this man, I remember saying, "Can you tell me, is there any place around here where there's a place where men pick up their hats?" And it's right next to a department store, and it starts with kind of Rosen. And he took me back over there.
What, did you follow him in his car?
I don't remember, but he's directed me how to get back over there to where poor C.B. was, and there was.
And how long would you say you were gone?
I bet you an hour.
Oh, and what was Daddy doing?
He had no idea what happened to me.
And what did you say to him?
I just told him, but they wouldn't let me turn. I had to turn to the left, and I had to turn. And I had no idea where I was.
Were you still dating him then?
Yeah, I was dating him then. He really taught me about. I didn't know nothing about red lights. All that. I could remember when we went to this little town near Waco, and we were dating, and had me drive. He used to tell tales about chasing the chickens. And when you stop at a red light and you stick your hand out, you see, we didn't have blinkers in.
Yeah.
If you wanted to stop, you put your hand down. If you're going to turn to the left, and you turn to the right, you put your hand up. It was all that different. Trying to drive a car in this was just a little town, but it had a few lights.
Yeah.
I mean, why C.B. ever would be interested in someone so stupid? I mean, really, I knew nothing.
You just were a country girl.
Well, of course, I didn't know a thing. I remember when we learned to drive, my father taught us how to drive, and we practiced driving in our little complex, like
Yeah.
the church. You'd drive up and park, and you'd back up and one thing and the other.
Yeah.
And I remember one time when Marie was learning to drive, and we drove to town. He told her to stop to get some gasoline. And I can remember there was a filling station like on this corner there. Well, she tried it. She went through this filling station, hit the pump, and went right across the street and stopped there. So nothing had happened at the other filling station. But I remember the expression, she just acted like nothing had happened. I was in the back seat. I just...
Were you laughing?
Yeah.
Your daddy taught you to drive?
Oh, yeah.
What did he do when y'all did something like that?
Nothing. He just sat next to her, and I don't remember what. I guess he just helped her. But it was just, I just remember the expression on her face. She acted like that was where she intended to stop her in the first place.
How old were y'all when you learned to drive, you remember?
High school.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you have to go through, like, driver ed or anything?
No, we didn't have drivers. I took driver's ed after I was married. Loma.
So if you married Daddy and you came from the country, when did you, like, learn to acclimate to dressing right and all of the things in Beaumont? I mean, how'd you learn that? Did Daddy help you? I mean, how did you change from country girl to...
Well, you wore a uniform all day, every day.
No, I mean, after you finished nursing school, how did you learn to dress so well?
I was in the city. I was in Waco.
Well, that was a big change. You'd never been in the city, so did it just come naturally?
Yeah. I remember learning how you went shopping. And
yeah.
Not much, but you bought cake, you could buy
Well, before then, you'd always had handmade clothes, right? So it was a big change.
Well, yeah, I guess. Just get on the bus. Things were cheap then.
Like,
yeah.
Well, like how cheap?
Well, I can remember when Phoebe and I were married, and I'd order my groceries from a little store, and this little boy, black boy, would bring the groceries to my door, and if I ordered a roast, I'd look at it. If I didn't like it, I'd send it back. Bring me another one, and you'd get a bill at the end of the month. It'd be $25.
That's awesome.
Bread was a nickel a loaf.
Yeah. Things were cheap, but of course you didn't
Potatoes
make that much
you never
either,
even thought,
did you?
No. But I'm just saying, things were so cheap.
So things were really different when
well,
you were
I can
in
tell
Beaumont
you
than
at
on
one
the farm.
time when our children were at TCU in college, gasoline was a nickel a gallon.
Really? And how much is it now?
The cheapest you can get, I noticed today, was $2.18
That's
a
just,
gallon.
of course, people made less too, though.
Oh, of course they did. I paid my maid $4 a week.
Oh, what? You mean Leella?
No, I paid her more, but when we were first married.
$4 a week?
I worked in CB's office.
Yeah.
And she came to work for me because I was paying a little bit more than those real wealthy people for feelings.
Did you have children then?
No. Well, Carol was born.
Did you leave Carol?
Huh?
Did you leave Carol?
No, that was before he was born.
So you paid her $4 a week? How often did she come?
Every day.
What did you have to clean up?
When I was working?
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. She had to boil the clothes outside.
Oh, yeah. The clothes had to be starched.
Yeah. You made everything. You didn't buy,
How long did you work at Daddy's office?
Till Carol was born.
I mean, did you enjoy it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was all right.
You were his nurse?
Yeah.
Really? Did you wear nurse clothes?
I don't remember.
Was that sort of a special time with you and Daddy? Him just getting started?
Well, you hardly had any patience, of course. I'd just look out the window and see where he'd go at noon. What was his name? We're good friends, and they'd always go to the Y at noon and exercise.
What'd you do?
Just stay there at the office.
Yeah. And when did Daddy's practice start growing? You remember when it started getting busy?
Well, I think I know someplace I have a book where he'd charge $1 for a patient to come in, almost nothing like
Yeah.
that. And he'd make $25 at the end of the day, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a red book. I don't know where it is. Somebody must have taken it. It's a red book and had all his
Oh, I'd love to see the names.
written down with patients. And then we went in the Army.
And then before long, did his practice, did you just
Well,
start
we went in the
growing?
Army.
Oh, he went to New Guinea.
No, we went to, from Beaumont we went to San Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
And then we went to Galveston. And
Yeah.
then he left and went to Australia. And then
Yeah, we're going to
Guinea.
get to that in a minute. That's
Mhm.
unbelievable because nobody in our generation has ever known what that's like.
So, that's,
Yeah. A war hit.
but people were so honest, like, CB came to Providence Hospital
Mm-hmm.
from Baylor in Dallas. And the Catholic sisters were very stingy with everything. And we would autoclave, sterilize our needles, everything was sterilized. We'd have these trays, like if somebody was going to get an intravenous injection. Well, I'll tell you, that rubber on this thing was so old, that was before plastic. It would stick together. And I remember when I really, at CB, I thought, first, he just caused so much trouble.
Daddy did?
Yeah. I was working in the supply room, pharmacy supply room, and we'd have to wash and autoclave this stuff, and he'd come in and throw them on the floor and throw them away, and the sisters would get upset. We ended up with almost nothing left in there. I
Yeah.
remember like fixing broken bones and splints and stuff. We had a room with all that. He would go in there and he threw all that stuff away. It was so outdated. The sisters were so upset with him. And in those days, and I can understand now, when I was a nurse, we studied pharmacy and filling medicines. There was no such a thing as you'd get a pill and take it. You had,
Really?
and so here we were with that little training that we had, filling prescriptions. And the pharmacist from across the street used to come over there and just shake his head and say, "This shouldn't be legal." And we would, we would have ounces and part of an ounce. You would have to measure all these different things, and you'd have a piece of paper, and you'd put so much of this and so much of that, and that would consider what's in a pill like you take today, and fold it up, and then that's pick it up. Cough medicine, you take this, and you put so much cocaine, so much of this, and that. It was ridiculous that they would.
Cocaine?
Well, what's in cough medicine?
Caffeine.
No, what makes you stop coughing?
I think that they used codeine.
Codeine. That's what I mean, yeah. To make you stop coughing, different things. And you had all these different, you had no antibiotics.
Is that when they would have that thing and squash it all up? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that.
And here we'd be filling all these prescriptions when they should have been going to the drugstore where there was a registered pharmacist over there filling them.
But the nurses are the ones?
We did.
Oh,
We did all
goodness.
that, yeah. And I can remember
Wow.
I was working in the pharmacy when Dr. Turner, who was always favored me a little bit, met CB, and they came by. And CB came by and said, he said, "Would you like to go to the circus, out to dinner and to the circus?" Said, "Dr. Turner has invited me." He was the circus, Ringling Brothers circus doctor.
Really?
Dr. Turner was.
Was this before you were married?
Yeah, when I was in nurse training. Hardly knew him. So he came by and he said, "Dr. Turner has invited me to invite a date and to go to with the head people of the Ringling Brothers Circus were coming to town. They were going to dinner and then go see the circus. And I'd like for you to go with me." I said,
Yeah.
"I can't. I'd love to go, but I can't." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I have a date." "Well, break it." He said, "No." I said, "I can't break it."
Who'd you have a date with?
Some boy from Clifton. I said, "No, I'd love to go, but I can't."
Had you noticed Daddy by then?
Well, yeah, it's a doctor, troublemaker. And so Dr. Turner came by and he said, I can't believe it. And I said, believe it. I said, well, I'm not going to break a date with him, with CB, with Dr. Shattuck, or with anybody. I have a date to go out with this young man on Saturday night, or whenever it was. And, no, I'm not going. I remember CB could not believe
that you had turned him down.
That I would not. And Dr. Turner, who is he? I said, well, he's a young man. That I would turn down. I meant that was something for a doctor to ask you down. I'd turn down a date. So I did. And so then one Sunday,
I can't believe it.
One Sunday afternoon, I was working on 3rd floor, and CB was up there writing on charts at 3rd floor.
Yeah.
That's when I really met CB, I guess. I mean, we kind of learned to know him better. And
yeah.
All of a sudden, somebody had accidentally hit the fire thing outside.
The fire escape, the fire alarm?
Fire alarm, they used to have them outside and bump them and one thing and the other. Well, here the fire trucks and all came, and all these patients were going crazy. And CB and I were running up and down the hall telling you, false alarm. And I had, CB said something about he'd noticed me playing tennis. We used to go out there and play tennis.
Yeah.
People would sit out there at night, and watch it.
Really?
So then he asked me to go to a movie. It was on a Sunday night.
This was after the circus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he asked me to go out, and it's on a Sunday night, I remember. We went to a movie, and we saw The Last Horizon. You ever seen that movie?
No. Can you still check it out?
Yeah.
Who was in it? Do you remember?
A bunch of people.
You remember the movie?
Yes, I remember. Scary.
It was scary?
A bunch of people went up a mountain, and they couldn't get down, and they didn't age. They were up there on a mountain that you didn't age. And then something happened.
I'll write that down. The Last Horizon. Okay.
And then...
They didn't age?
No, as long as they were on that mountain. And then after many, many years, they were able to come down from the mountain, and they aged.
What an interesting movie for back then.
It was scary.
Why was it scary?
And so...
What was scary about it? Do you remember?
I just remember it was very scary. It was a very scary movie, I thought. And so, of course, then immediately Sister Mary found out that I had gone out with Dr. Shattuck.
Yeah.
So she calls me in the office. And they were always slinging their beads.
Rosary beads.
She'd always, while she was talking, she said, well, she said, I can stop that because these nurses aren't allowed to go out with doctors.
It was against the rules?
Uh-huh.
Did you know that?
Yeah. But anyway, she said, you're a senior, aren't you? And I said, well, I guess I'll just put you on the 1st floor on night duty. Well,
was she real strict when she was doing it?
She thought she was really, really punishing me.
Yeah.
I did too. And I called CB, and I said, well... Oh, no, I had gone out with them once or twice after that before she put me down on 1st floor.
Yeah.
Because I can remember we went out and ate Mexican food. And CB would always tell the tale the first time he took me out, and I'd never tasted Mexican food in my life.
I imagine.
That I just picked on it, and he said it didn't take long before she's eating all hers and mine.
You liked it?
I learned to like it. He liked it so much. We ate a lot of Mexican.
Yeah, I remember our patio, yeah.
And in Waco. But anyway... So I called CB and I said, I can't, I said, but see, I got off duty at 6.
She was trying to keep you from dating, right?
Sure. She said she could put a stop to it. She put me on the 1st floor. I said, CB said, well, good. He said, they're all my patients down there, and he said, I'll just do my work at night, too. So after about a week or so, the sister who was sister down there on night duty, she couldn't hear, and she whispered like this. You could converse with her, understand?
Yeah.
She called me aside, and she says, Dr. Shattuck is not supposed to be down here. It was at night. And I said, well, then tell him. I like for him to be down here. I said, she was scared. They were all scared of him.
So he was their superior, really.
They were all scared of
But the
him.
doctor had more authority than the sisters.
Well, I don't know whether they did or
Yeah.
not, but they were all scared of him because he's throwing everything out and changing. She said, "No, you tell him." I said, "No, I'm going to tell him. I like for him to be down there." I said, "Why? He can work when these are all his patients. If he wants to sleep during the day and write up his patients at night, you tell him not to come down here." Well, they were all scared.
Yeah.
They never did. Well, Stevie said, "I think this is great." He said, "We don't have to be on duty till 11 o'clock, see? Night duty's from 11 to 7.
Yeah.
He said, "We can go out every night and do sleep."
Did you?
Sure, we went out. And of course, see, when CB was there, how he learned to do surgery, he would assist the doctors doing surgery. So, of course, he'd be working in the mornings,
Yeah.
with the...
Yeah.
But these were all his patients. And then you see they'd let him operate, and then a head doctor would have to be with him and guide him.
Yeah.
But they were
Yeah.
his patients to take care of. And the typical thing in those days with the black people, black women would get upset with their man, never their husband, they'd call him their man. They'd pour hot lye water on them, and they would be burned so terrible, and they'd be under this.
They would do that? They would pour, what's lye?
It'll eat up in your dishwasher is lye, don't you know?
They did that back then?
Don't ever
Punish-
not to let Grayson get anywhere near that.
Oh, I know that, but
It'll eat up their esophagus in a minute.
they would pour that water on their man? I mean, was that mainly a black thing?
Yeah.
And what condition would those men be
Well,
in?
they'd just be miserable till they died. Most of them did. They'd be under
They
this
died?
tent. Well, they'd be under a tent with lye. See, we didn't have antibiotics and
I know
stuff
that.
to treat.
I know that.
We'd
the lye
have a
goes
tent,
through-
and the odor would be terrible. We had a tent, and all the babies would be born. He'd deliver all those babies down there, and there were lots of them. So those were all his patients, and he'd be down there working all night on his charts and changing where he'd operated on. Instead of doing it in the mornings, he was doing it at night.
How long did that go on?
That went on for a while until they decided Sister Mary to start. she heard about that and didn't do much about it. Well, then he left in the summertime.
Where'd he go?
A lot of doctors would take vacations in those days, and they would get house doctors. See, CB was not an intern; he was a house doctor.
Yeah,
That's the second year after you graduate.
yeah.
And they would go and practice like if Daddy, in those days, if the doctor wanted to be gone, take a vacation for a month,
Yeah.
they'd get a house doctor to come take care of their patients out in the
Okay.
country, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And a house doctor is a...
He's a doc. Well, he could practice any day he wanted, but just for the experience
Okay.
before they...
Okay,
See,
yeah.
they intern 1 year after they graduate, and then
They're
the next
house
year
doctor.
you can be a house doctor. Not all of them did, but CB wanted to learn how to do surgery and stuff.
Yeah.
So he wanted another year where he learned to do surgery with these other doctors. So then Sister heard that CB was gone. She
Sister.
said, so CB gave me a set of Hartman luggage for graduation.
What color?
They're up in the attic, those blue kind of ones.
They're still in the attic? Oh, my goodness.
And so what happened? So then I was the only one who had a key to those seats.
Yeah.
So what we decided to do, Mary Land was my best friend, and she was dating his name was Alexander, who was a business manager for a big clinic in Dallas,
Yeah.
in Waco. So we decided that CB decided he would send his letters to
her.
to him, Alex,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
and he would bring them to me at noon.
Wow.
So she
Yeah.
knew that too. So Sister had a right to come in our room and look through anything she wanted to.
Yeah.
And I'd catch her up there looking through all my stuff. But what she couldn't, I locked those letters up in the suitcases. And I was the only one that had a thing there. And see, we always knew that Miss Abrams was her stupid, what do you call them? We used to call them, I forget that name. She would act like
Spy?
kind of like a spy, but it was called
Was she a
Kitty.
nun, too?
No, she was a graduate nurse. And she was, Abrams her name was. And she would, she'd circle around the nurses, see, and try to think that their friend, we all knew she'd just tattletale everything to Sister
Yeah.
Mary. So here came
So she
Abrams.
would report things to her.
Right.
Yeah.
And she would report that that I was getting. See, she found out that Alexander was bringing me my letters.
How'd she find that out?
Because she would be spying everywhere. So that's why Sister Mary was up in my room, looking for those letters.
Did she find them?
She never found them. Of course, she couldn't get them. Well, they were locked up in my suitcase.
Oh, wow. So Daddy's letters to you were all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, he used to call me, I was Hunky and he was Dory, Hunky and Dory. We called each other.
Who's Hunky and Dory? Where'd that come from?
I don't know. We just started calling.
Hunky and
all his
Dory.
letters were Hunky and
That
Dory.
doesn't make any sense.
Hunky and Dory.
Wonder where he got that.
I don't know. I don't remember where. We've probably been a movie or a
How do
book
you
or something.
spell it? D-O-R-Y?
Oh, there's some letters somewhere that has Hunky and Dory.
They do?
Yeah, Hunky and Dory. So, she wouldn't, but anyway, so that didn't work. And so, I remember then CB, I didn't know CB was coming home. And Sister Mary and I were standing out on the front porch of Providence Hospital. And if she didn't want, she'd always, that means you better stop and see what she wanted.
Yeah.
Sister Mary. We were standing out there talking, and I looked down there and I saw CB's car coming, and I jumped over the hedge of Sister Mary.
Oh, wow. And she did that?
Yeah.
You,
I didn't care.
you jumped over the hedge?
Yeah.
How long had he been gone?
Probably 2 months or something.
Well, that's a long time.
Maybe not that long.
Were y'all in love then, would you
yeah.
say?
Yeah. Of course.
Did you miss him a lot?
Yeah. So,
Oh.
anyway, Hunky and Dory.
So how long did you and Daddy actually date before you married, would you say?
Started dating him in November.
You were how old?
I was a senior. Well, I guess a year and a half.
But sort of how old were you when you started dating him? I don't know.
Well, 22, 21 or 22.
And you married a year and a half later?
Mm-hmm.
Did your parents approve of him?
Well, they put him through the grind. My daddy
Oh,
did.
they did? What do you mean?
Well, C.B. was pretty knowledgeable of everything, including the Bible.
Daddy was smart.
And so when we decided to get married, I told him he had to go talk to my dad.
Yeah?
So, of course, he knew Daddy.
Yeah.
But, so he went there, and Daddy just asked him all kinds of things about the Bible.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah. And he made C.B. promise that the children would be Lutherans.
He did? Really? I never knew that.
Yeah.
So, we were all Lutheran, but Daddy didn't hardly come to church. Why?
Not till at last. He was going to confirmation lessons when he died.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
He never told me
He'd
that.
go early Sunday morning.
Really?
Yeah, I remember.
What caused that after all these years?
I remember we were in Houston, and I was so surprised because C.B. said he really had to get back in time to go to confirmation lessons. Yeah.
What do you think happened that made him decide?
He was he was a born-in-the-woods Baptist, of course.
Yeah? So
You know,
Daddy...
When we were first married, old Miss, every Sunday morning she had this iron pot. I've told you this many times. She'd salt and pepper and flour this
That
chicken and
yeah.
brown it.
Yeah.
And when we got home from church,
It was ready.
it was so good.
Yeah. That sounds
And
good to me right now.
I told, and the Baptist church sing that, they want you to come join the church. What is that song?
Oh, they
say,
still sing
What
it
is
at
that,
First Baptist. It's like, everybody close their eyes now. And it's like, oh, Michael would know it. What's that song they
my
all
gosh,
sing?
I listened to the Philly Graham. The Philly.
But it is fine, na 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 na.
Yeah, but they
That's
did
it.
on Phyllis.
Da, da.
Well, Billy Graham. One
Is that the one?
Yeah,
Da,
yeah.
Da, da, da.
And so
I come, yeah.
So I told old Missy, I said, I'll tell you what. Today, if they would have sang that stanza one more time, I would have joined the church.
That's the funniest thing.
I'll tell you what, if they would have sang one more stanza, I think I would have joined
Join
the
the Baptist church.
The Baptist church. She was so funny. She always had that kick.
Was Daddy raised in the Baptist church? I never asked. I mean,
That's always been an argument. Aunt Nell says that she raised him to be a Methodist, and Ole Miss said, but Ole Miss had him more than Aunt Nell was always sick. Had consumption, maybe, as they called it, out. Had to go to Kerrville to get over that. And
I know Aunt Neil was. I probably like Aunt Neil always something.
Ole Miss was always treating Aunt Nell too from the time that they got married. Ole Miss and young Miss,
I loved Ole Miss. She had soft bosoms.
But anyway.
But did Daddy? You think when you met him, did he have a strong faith?
Yeah.
I never knew because when we were growing up.
Most young people in college, many of them don't.
No, but when we were growing up,
Daddy was amazed. Mother said that Daddy was amazed.
Amazed at what?
How much Daddy knew about the Bible when my father asked him all those questions.
So, Daddy, I remember growing up, Daddy did know a lot about the Bible. And he was surprised that your father was a preacher, so why would he be surprised?
Well, I guess he just didn't know that he knew as much as he knew about the Bible.
So you would say that to your father it was real important that the man you married be a man of faith. That's a real important thing. So how long did he question Daddy? Do you know?
I don't remember. We were there one night.
But Daddy thought he was a pretty firm.
Daddy was pretty smart about everything.
Yeah.
And
Daddy was a smart man. So Daddy passed the test.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And one of the conditions was that the family would be raised Lutheran. Did that include Daddy becoming Lutheran?
No. But the children, if there were any children.
And you were very faithful with that.
And Daddy never objected to it.
Yeah, that was one of the conditions. Did Daddy ever want to go back to Baptist church? Or?
No.
Yeah. So the family Daddy came from, I remember, it was Methodist. Were they a strong Baptist family?
Aunt Nell was different.
Aunt Neil was different. Miss. She taught at
her
school.
Her good friend was Ms. Weber, and they would go teach Bible classes.
Yeah.
And
at the Baptist church.
In different towns.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss always called Ms. Weber sister. And I always tell about that time they were going to Port Arthur.
Yeah.
And they forgot to put the guard down. Ole Miss and Ms. Weber were in this car, and they started up the bridge, and and Ole Miss said she just honked her horn and honked the horn, and she said, "Sister, just start praying."
What happened?
They heard him and put the bridge back down.
Oh my goodness, you're kidding me.
No.
Oh, Miss was a character, wasn't she?
Sister, yeah. We asked her, they built that new bridge between Orange and Beaumont, and somehow she got on the wrong side. And we said, "Oh, Miss, what did you do?" When she got to Orange, she said, "Well, honey," she said, "I just put my car in reverse, and the cars just all waited, and I just turned around." She sat on the floor in that old car.
I remember her driving up to her house in that car. Yeah, I remember. How old was she when she died?
I don't remember. She was in a nursing home there on Broadway, I remember, in Beaumont.
She was a loving person, wasn't she? Always felt. Yeah, I liked Ole Miss.
It's funny how people, when C.B. left, and I went to, so Grandpa Shattuck paid for me, but the two boys and I stayed with them until I found a place. I couldn't find any place to live.
It's terrible.
Because at those days they wouldn't take children. Apartments would not take children. And we looked and looked and looked, and we looked at places to buy or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted my own place. And I remember Ole Miss's son, Gene, and his wife. She was such a hateful person. She just thought she just, kept fussing about us eating their food, this, and that. She was mean.
Really?
Yeah, real cox.
It was not her son.
I saw a picture. Where did I look at a picture? And I thought, how did this picture get out of the old picture? We were all on the steps of Ole Miss's house. But anyway,
The woman he married wasn't nice, is what you were saying. Did they have children?
One, Jean. They moved to Houston, and he died years ago. Her son died.
Really?
Carol, I visited Carol and Dory once when I was over there.
Wow.
Years gone by.
Was Ole Miss real nice to you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's real nice.
She's real loving and nurturing, wasn't she?
You know, I love turnip greens and
Yeah.
turnips and cornbread. And nobody else in the family would eat them.
Yeah.
And she'd say, I've just got a hunger for turnip greens, she said. I'm just fixing cornbread, and you and I just sit down and eat our... I'd go over there and we'd eat cornbread.
Did you have turnip greens growing up?
I don't really remember that we did.
I never remember seeing you eating
I
turnip
like
greens.
turnip greens, the young ones. I don't like
We ought to cook them sometime.
uh,
So you and Ole Miss would eat turnip greens and cornbread? Sounds good to me.
it is. They are good turnip greens. Are real
She was a good cook, Ole Miss?
Yeah, I think she was. But Grandpa Shattuck, all he would eat would be English peas and round steak she'd fry with a little gravy and rice
You mean he ate the same thing?
all the time. Chicken, he'd eat chicken once in a while. And I said, I've been having Meals on Wheels for 67 years.
Why?
Well, then he got sick.
Grandpa
Shattuck got sick. And so he decided that Ole Miss's food made him sick. And I would cook food and take it over there every day for Grandpa Shattuck.
Oh, you did? What, the same thing? English
I'd
peas?
cook up something different than this and that.
Yeah.
But, and then I brought food to you for years. And now Heather...
I know, I think I've gotten replaced. All of a sudden, I quit getting food, and Heather got it. You've been bringing food to people, and
I thought, well...
You've been doing meals forever, haven't you, really?
Meals on Wheels, man.
I think we could label you Meals on Wheels for sure. You cooked all the Christmas and Thanksgiving. You cooked all. You get tired of cooking?
We went to Ole Miss's after the boys... Carol and Peter were born after CB came home. We went over there one time to Beaumont for Christmas dinner.
Mm-hmm. Who did it?
Ole Miss, of course.
Yeah.
I never cooked. And CB said, that's it. Never the last time. Because they kept calling. They wanted to eat at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, we had those little children.
Oh, yeah.
To get over there, and what would they do when they got over there? And that's how it started. That's the last time.
How old were they then when this happened? A little bit? Yeah, after
3 or
Daddy came
4,
from
yeah.
war.
I said, from now on, it's going to be at home, Christmas at home.
Yeah.
That's why they have always come. I
From then on, you've been cooking Christmas dinner,
and
right?
Thanksgiving.
That's right.
And Aunt Nell and LB Golf decided that when y'all were in college, that they just automatically, I just started making a big pot of soup every Saturday because they would come over.
Yeah.
And then it got to where when everybody was gone, I'd look out the window here, Aunt Nell and LB would come with their suitcase, and she'd say...
I remember that.
She said, I just can't stop, LB. He said, well, let's go over there. And here they would come, and they'd sleep in that gray bedroom.
I remember that every weekend.
Nobody'd ask them.
Did you mind it?
Well, no.
Doesn't matter. Okay, now I'm going to ask you some questions. These are real important things to know. How much did an ice cream cone cost when you were a child?
I never paid for it. How would I know?
You don't have any idea. Do you have any idea how much anything cost
No.
when you were a child?
I didn't have any money.
You remember your favorite ice cream flavor?
No.
Do you remember
We only got
the
Eskimo.
fashions of the day? We're all interested in that. What y'all wear? I was looking at that picture. You look pretty decked out. When you were a little girl, look at this.
Well, here.
What were the fashions of your day? Your mother looks pretty fancy.
I don't know.
What do you have
just
on your
had little
legs?
dresses.
What were on your legs in that picture?
I don't wouldn't know. I just know that in the wintertime we all wore long underwear until we got to be teenagers, then we didn't have to.
Yeah.
And then you'd learn to do that underwear just so smooth over those black stockings that wouldn't even show you wore black stockings.
Yeah.
Over that underwear to keep warm.
What was it made of? Do you remember the long underwear?
What it's made of today, cotton.
Cotton. So you wear long underwear. The fashions when you were children just were...
Just dresses, that loose-fitting dresses. I
Did
guess.
girls ever wear pants?
Pants?
Yeah,
no,
you know what
no,
I mean.
slacks. No.
So as a little girl, you were in dresses and leggings always,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Anything else you remember about the fashions? Way back then.
Well, they always wore hats. My
Women?
mother and them, yeah. And long dresses, full dresses, you know, see it in the movies.
Did your mother make her own dresses?
I don't know. I don't think she did.
She looked really pretty in that. I wonder.
She was a nice-looking woman.
Your mom?
Oh, yeah.
Was she pretty?
Oh, yeah. She had dark hair. Yeah,
I like her face.
my mother was a nice-looking woman.
So your mother, she was a little chunky, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, a little chunky and short.
Yeah.
But you remember her as being a pretty woman?
Oh, yeah, mother's pretty.
Really? I mean, I think she's very pretty in this picture. I haven't seen many pictures of her. She always had long hair
Mm-hmm.
and did it up. And your father was very tall.
Pretty tall, broad shoulders. That's where they get those broad shoulders.
Is this what you would account to all of us that did he have a big head? Is that where we got it? Do you think any of your children or grandchildren resemble him at all?
Peter, maybe.
Peter? And Carol looks more like
CB.
CB. And me? Who do I look like?
More like the Shaddocks.
And Bill?
I don't know.
He sort of looks like you and Henry, wouldn't you say?
Maybe.
He gets that olive skin. Remember Daddy always said, did you meet the postman or whatever with Bill? Peter, Carol, and I really do look a lot alike, like the Shaddocks more than the
Not
Gertners.
Carol.
You say that Carol looks like me. Everybody says that.
Yeah.
But
Maybe Peter's forehead or something.
Peter does have a look like Grandpa Gertner. He's got a big head. We all do.
Charles and Paula's oldest son, Wally. There's
Yeah.
some resemblance in them.
Well, I think it's really strange that I look so different than you. It's not fair.
You look a lot like old Messon.
Oh, Miss. Oh, my gosh, Mama.
Well, kind of built like that.
What do you mean? I'm not built like old Miss. She was big
Oh,
breast.
no. She
Mom,
wasn't.
old Miss had big breast. You think I look like old Miss?
I said you look more like the Shaddocks than you do the McQuarters,
Yeah.
I would say.
We all do, except for Bill.
Carol looks like, everybody in Orange thinks he looks exactly like CB.
Really?
Oh, they say that it's so...
He doesn't look like Daddy to
I
me.
can't see it either. I think it's... They say his walk after CB died and when Carol would come said, this is eerie. It's just like CB walking in.
Do you agree?
No.
I don't
don't.
either. You know who I think looks most like Daddy? Peter.
No.
Peter and I look the most alike, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, because people always are
Yeah.
amazed.
I think mannerism. I mean, and these people and friends in Orange say Carol even walks like CB.
Really?
That they could just close their eye and would know it.
That's interesting.
I
can't see
cannot
it.
see it at all.
Yeah. I always remember that.
Everybody thinks Carol and
Do you think that, I mean, personality-wise, I know I'm more like Daddy, aren't I?
yeah.
And Peter,
Now Sydney looks a lot like Carol.
like
Like
Carol,
CB.
like CB, Sydney does.
When he was a baby, he looked just like.
Did Daddy have those almond eyes, sort of like that? So Sydney sort of reminds you of that.
Yeah. Sydney, I think it's
But it's funny that the big head, though, came from Grandpa Gertner, right? Our big heads. We definitely have large heads. I've had physicians tell me you have a very... I remember when I had my brain surgery, they were doing the circumference of my head, and they said, you have a big head. And I was like, oh, I do. They said, you have an unusually large head. So that's sort of... I don't know if any of the great-grandchildren have large heads, but they told me that when they measured my head, that I had a big
Peter,
head.
they had to special order his football helmet.
Well, I must have a big head, because when they put my skull back together, I've got a big knot sticking out here of extra cartilage. It didn't fit back together real good. But you have a small face.
A small head.
A small head. Does any of us have a small head?
I don't know, but I used to have my hats always made smaller. The band, they'd have to.
I think that of all the grandchildren, that Heather looks the most like you. What do you think? I mean, her neck and her. She has a long, shattered chin, but she reminds me in mannerism of you. Does she you? Like when she tries on clothes, she does her hair like this, and
Yeah. She doesn't care about clothes like she used to. She doesn't dress like today. Last summer, our last call, she bought this expensive. It originally was $600.
yeah,
And I forget what we paid for it.
Yeah.
Probably $175 or something
Yeah.
like it. And I always tried to get her to take it back. She put it on and said, "This I don't care if I get anything. This I have to have." Well, she was going to take it home and take it back. She never took it back. Well, guess what she had?
we want to know what your favorite storybook was as a child, or any book you remember playing.
Praying.
Play any book you ever got that you remember reading that made an impression on you.
As a child,
Just growing up.
growing up, none.
You can't remember any book
I
you read?
can't remember any particular book.
Can you remember your favorite childhood rhyme?
Rhyme?
Yeah. Was there any saying or rhyme in your family? Like early to bed?
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, it wasn't that, we just went to bed. It's dark, you know.
But do you remember any rhyme? I know.
No, offhand I can't. Not in
Okay.
particular. I mean, that I had as a child. I mean, I just don't know. You have just